Hello, and a warm welcome back after the break. My name is James Purcell. I joined Quintet in March of this year to head up Quintet Sustainable Operations and Investments. Previously, I was working at UBS where I ran their Sustainable and Impact franchise. If we go to the next slide, slide 2, thank you. So as many of you know, Quintet is a private banking group with offices in 50 cities all around Europe. We trace our Luxembourg history to 1949 and the creation of Credit Bank Luxembourg. Today, I have the pleasure to not only discuss Quintet, but to discuss a significant passion of mine, the UN SDGs, or Sustainable Development Goals, which we just saw on the screen. So the UN SDGs are very much a blueprint towards a sustainable future, set in 2015, targeted to be achieved by 2030. These 17 goals are supported by 169 different targets and 232 indicators. However, 5 years on, and unfortunately, collectively, we are a little bit off track. And we show this on the next slide. Because by the end of this year, 2020, 21 of the 169 targets will have matured, including targets relating to coastal ecosystems and fish stocks, as well as variants of goal number 8, which is all about reducing the proportion of youth unemployment and developing new youth unemployment strategies. And as the pie chart shows, unfortunately, in total, only 19% of the maturing targets are achieved or on track to be achieved, according to the UN. More broadly, the UN estimates there is a $2.5 trillion annual gap between what is being channeled towards the Sustainable Development Goals and what is actually needed to achieve them by 2030. Now that sounds like a lot, of course, but we should put it in context that there is currently around $15 trillion of negatively yielding government debt out there, both government and corporate, and US household wealth is around about 100 trillion. So that number, while large at 2.5 trillion, shouldn't actually concern us in the grand scheme of the world's capabilities. And directly or indirectly, we of course all have our part to play here. And as a creator and as a conduit of wealth, private banks such as Quintet have a larger role than many. So I'm going to answer today in a very brief, how does Quintet integrate the SDGs into the corporate strategy? And we're going to do this through 3 different lenses: how we serve our clients, how we support our employees, and how we work in communities. So if we turn to the next slide, you will see that in relation to our clients, I've chosen to lead off with goal number 10, reduced inequalities. And that may surprise some of you in the room, for of course a wealth manager's role is to increase the wealth of its clients, many of whom of course are already affluent. But if we dig a little bit deeper, we can see how there is quite a strong alignment here. So one of the core drivers of financial inequality is a lack of education, a lack of literacy, as it were. It is the root cause that prevents families from accumulating wealth, and it's also the cause of financial loss. The Williams Group, for example, finds that round about 90% of family wealth is lost within 3 generations for this very reason. So as a wealth manager, we seek to bring structure and clear principles such as geographic, sector, and asset diversification in order to allow individuals and their families to plan successfully for the future. And that is a template that can be applied regardless of wealth level and regardless of geography as well. So when we look to the SDGs, it is undeniable that the financial system, both in developed and in emerging markets, is absolutely crucial to the UN SDGs, from savings through to channeling of capital. I've also included UN SDG 17 on this slide, which is the last of the UN SDGs, which is partnership for the goals. Because firms like Quintet are conduits of wealth to more sustainable solutions. We have recently pledged to make sustainable investing our default proposition for all of our clients, and that will be implemented in the coming months. And this has many important aspects. One element of this is making explicit allocations towards the development banks, such as the World Bank and the Asia Development Bank. And by supporting those institutions through purchasing of their debt, we do support the 10th target within UN SDG number 10, which encourages the official development assistance and financial flows to states where the need is greatest. That is, of course, just one example of how sustainable investing can channel capital, but there's a multitude of those out there. The financial system really does have a duty to support sustainable development and ensure that capital providers and capital needs are connectors. We're actually also very firm supporters of the forthcoming EU regulation on sustainable finance. And today I would very much welcome the opportunity after this call to have a discussion bilaterally on ideas and differences of opinion around how the regulation is playing out. Turning to our employees on the next slide, and with over 2,000 employees, we have a significant human commitment at Quintet. And the UN SDGs are very useful in framing some of the topics and the issues that we as an employer should consider when operating a corporate strategy. So for example, under SDG number 4, which is all about quality education, there is a target that requests that people make affordable and quality technical, vocational and tertiary education. Now, this is a goal that informs our paid leave policies for studies, and many of our employees, in particular the younger employees, choose to take us up on that offer. Similarly, UN SDG 5, there are numerous targets that relate to corporations in SDG 5. For example, calling for the women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of the decision-making process. Now, this was an SDG that we took a little bit of a different tact on. We thought that this is a great way, actually, we can incorporate this in our voting policy, how we actually manage the assets for our clients. So year to date at corporate AGMs, we've actually voted against about 350 board-related proposals because those boards were not showing significant gender diversity. And this is a demonstration, I feel, about the different ways that corporations can incorporate SDGs into their frameworks. So in some cases, the SDGs have inspired Quintet to look again at corporate strategy and see what changes we can make. In others, our existing policies and practices may align to some of those SDGs. And we believe, very crucially, it is important not to SDG wash, to greenwash, as it were, and seek to obsessively map existing activities to the SDGs for the sake of it. The focus for any business, and ours included, should of course be on incremental action. So speaking of incremental action takes me to my final slide and a new action we introduced in July. And this was to eliminate all the single-use plastics from our premises by the end of the year, from plastic cups to cutlery, drink stirrers, and so forth. In this case, we were inspired by a gentleman called Daniel Webb, and Daniel Webb saved every single piece of plastic he consumed for an entire year. Now, Daniel worked out over that year, he had accumulated 4,490 plastic items. So if you scale that up for the Luxembourg population, and you're getting to the region of about 1.5 billion pieces of plastic. And the UN Development Goals really are extremely well connected to each other and interdependent, which is why we also include SDG 14 on this slide, Life Below Water, because every minute a garbage truck of plastic is emptied into the oceans, according to the World Economic Forum. And we will have, according to the analysis from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, more plastic than fish in the sea by weight by 2050. So as we as a firm look to 2021, we know that we are collectively as a community, as an organization, of course, behind target on the UN SDGs. We'll be bringing in our first group head of corporate social responsibility to work alongside me on the sustainable investment side. And there's many exciting avenues that we can, of course, pursue, from renewable power to urban gardens across our 50 offices and so forth. For me, it's incredibly important to be genuine in these conversations and how we make sustainability part of a corporate strategy. And that is to show that to our clients that the investments that we recommend to them and how we act as a firm are both fully congruent with each other. And And it's one of the reasons I chose to join Quintet, to have the opportunity to bring those areas closer together. So to conclude this short talk, 5 years into the SDG project, we know, unfortunately, that the world is off track. We also know that many of us in the room today have great influence. We have influence over the companies we work for and the services that we offer and the impact that has across the financial system. I strongly, strongly believe that through sustainability within a corporate strategy, there is a huge, huge opportunity, not just for better sustainable outcomes, but also for superior economic outcomes for those companies concerned. So with that, thank you very much for the time today. I'd be delighted to pick up on bilateral conversations after this video call. Thank you.